At 11:47 p.m. on August 23, 1944, Corporal Thomas Wade crouched beside a 105mm M2A1 howitzer at gun position 12 in the Owen Stanley Range, watching 17 Japanese truck headlights crawl through the valley 3,200 yards below. He was alone. No loader, no rammer, no gunner, no crew. Standard doctrine said a howitzer required 6 men to operate. Wade had 8 minutes before the trucks reached cover, and maybe 90 seconds after his first shot before Japanese mortars killed him. The trucks were moving south on the Kokoda Trail, hauling ammunition and reinforcements toward Japanese positions at Buna. American command had ordered all available artillery to engage. Gun 1 had 4 men. Gun 7 had 4 men. Gun 3 had 3 men. Gun 12 had Wade. One man cannot operate a crew-served weapon, cannot load 33-pound shells fast enough, cannot ram, aim, fire, and reload without help. The math doesn't work. A well-trained 6-man crew fires 4 rounds per minute. One man working alone fires maybe 1 round per minute if he's lucky. Against 17 moving targets with an 8-minute engagement window, 1 round per minute means 8 shots maximum. Not enough to matter. But Wade had spent 7 months watching men die. Watched 19 crewmen killed by Japanese mortars across 4 different gun positions. Survived 4 strikes that should have killed him. And somewhere between gun 3 and gun 4, between watching friends die and loading shells alone, Wade figured out how to make 1 man do 6 men's work. His hands moved to the first shell. The trucks were 3 minutes from optimal firing range. The night smelled like cordite and jungle rot. Wade's modified loading sequence would either prove impossible, was just another word for untested, or it would prove one man couldn't beat doctrine no matter how fast he moved. Time to find out which. The problem wasn't new. Artillery had operated the same way since 1918. 6-man crews, coordinated movements, each man responsible for 1 step in the firing sequence. The system worked because humans couldn't move faster. Physics limited how quickly you could lift a 33-pound shell, ram it into a breech, aim a 2-ton gun, and fire. The 6-man crew distributed the work because the work was too much for fewer men. The 105mm M2A1 howitzer required specific actions in specific order. Position 1, loader. His job was lifting high-explosive shells from the ammunition point and carrying them to the breech. Each shell weighed 33 pounds. The ammunition point sat 8 feet behind the gun. Standard procedure: the loader walked 8 feet, grabbed a shell, walked 8 feet back, handed it to position 2. Position 2, rammer. He took the shell from the loader, opened the breech, inserted the shell, grabbed the 6-foot rammer staff, and drove the shell into the chamber. 2-handed operation. The rammer staff weighed 12 pounds, required both arms to generate enough force to seat the shell properly. 7 seconds for a good rammer, 10 seconds for an average one. Position 3, assistant gunner. He closed the breech, set the fuse on the shell nose, confirmed the propellant charge was correct, and verified the firing pin was engaged. Safety checks. 4 seconds minimum. Skip them and you risk misfire, cook-off, or breech explosion. Position 4, gunner. He operated the elevation and traverse wheels, adjusted the gun's aim based on fire mission data. Elevation controlled up and down angle. Traverse controlled left-right angle. Each wheel required multiple rotations to achieve proper settings. Standard procedure called for 12 seconds minimum from receiving fire data to achieving correct sight picture. Position 5, ammunition handler. He prepared the next shell while the crew fired the current one. Removed packing material, inspected for damage, positioned the shell for the loader. Kept ammunition flow constant. Without him, the crew stopped between shots, waiting for shells to be prepared. Position 6, crew chief. He received fire missions over radio, calculated firing data, coordinated the crew's actions, and called commands. Load, ram, close breach, elevation 310 mils, traverse 2850 mils, fire, next round, load. The human metronome keeping 5 men synchronized. 6 men working together fired 4 rounds per minute if they were well trained. 15 seconds between shots, 20 seconds if they weren't. The coordination was everything. Remove 1 man and the sequence broke down. The loader had to carry shells and ram them. The gunner had to aim and close the breach. 5-man crews fired 3 rounds per minute. 4-man crews fired 2 rounds per minute. 1-man crews didn't exist. Not in doctrine, not in training, not in combat. The physical requirements were impossible. 1 man cannot carry, ram, aim, and fire fast enough to matter tactically. That was fact. That was physics. That was what every artillery manual said. Nobody had told Wade it was impossible. Or maybe they had, and he stopped listening after Gun 3. The Japanese had learned to kill American gun crews with mathematical precision. Their forward observers watched for muzzle flash. The bright orange bloom from a howitzer firing was visible for 5 miles at night. Japanese observers triangulated position from 2 observation points, calculated distance, radioed coordinates to their mortar teams. 90 seconds. That was how long American crews had from first shot to incoming mortars. 90 seconds to fire as many rounds as possible, then take cover or die. The 129th Field Artillery Battalion had lost 43 crewmen in 6 weeks between July and mid-August 1944. 17 complete gun crews. Mortar fire accounted for 39 of those deaths. The pattern was consistent and brutal. American gunfires. Japanese observer spots muzzle flash. Observer radios coordinates. Japanese mortars fire. 90 seconds later, mortars land on American position. Most crews got off 2 shots before mortars arrived. 2 rounds in 90 seconds, then 15 seconds to abandon the gun and reach cover. The lucky crews made it. The unlucky ones were still at the gun when mortars hit. Gun 3's crew died on July 9th. 5 men. Wade's original crew, they'd been firing at Japanese supply lines near Wau, got off 3 shots. Japanese mortars landed while they were loading the 4th. Wade survived because he'd been at the ammunition point 40 yards away, carrying shells. He heard the impacts, saw the smoke, walked back and found what mortars do to human bodies at close range. Gun 7's crew lost 4 men on July 30th. Wade had been reassigned there after Gun 3. He'd been checking the recoil mechanism when mortars hit. Different gun, same result. 4 dead, Wade alive. Gun 4 lost 3 men on August 12th. Wade checking the barrel, mortars landed. 3 more names added to the casualty list. By mid-August, other soldiers started calling him Lucky Tommy. Wade didn't feel lucky. He felt like he was collecting dead friends. 19 men total across 4 gun positions. He knew their names, knew where they were from, knew who had families waiting. Sergeant Chen from California, Corporal Morrison from Texas, Private Hayes from Michigan, Private Rodriguez, Private Parker, Corporal Bailey. 19 names. Battalion command considered pulling Wade from combat operations. Survivor's guilt was a problem. Shell shock, battle fatigue, whatever they called it in 1944. Watching 19 men die around you while you survived every time did things to soldiers. Made them hesitant, made them freeze, made them liabilities. But the 129th Field Artillery Battalion didn't have enough trained artillerymen to pull Wade from the line. Replacements weren't arriving fast enough. The battalion operated at 60% strength. Some guns had 4-man crews, some had 3. Some sat silent because there weren't enough men to operate them. Wade was the most experienced loader in the battalion. He'd served on 4 different guns, worked every position: loader, rammer, gunner, ammunition handler. He understood the complete sequence. Most crewmen specialized in one position. Wade knew them all because he'd been reassigned 4 times, learned new roles each time, absorbed how each position functioned. He also understood something else, something nobody was saying officially, but everyone knew. The doctrine was killing them. 6-man crews, 15-second reload times, coordinated movements. It was all designed for peacetime range training, not combat where the enemy shoots back 90 seconds after you fire. Wade had started thinking about the problem at night, lying in his tent, listening to distant artillery, counting seconds between shots. 15 seconds was too slow. Crews exposed themselves to counter-battery fire for too long. The longer you stayed at the gun, the higher your chance of dying when mortars arrived. What if reload time was 8 seconds instead of 15? What if you eliminated walking to the ammunition point? What if you skipped the separate ramming step? What if you preset fire data instead of calculating it during the mission? Wade started testing these questions on August 20th. Gun position 12. No crew assigned yet. Battalion running on skeleton staffing. Wade worked the gun alone at 2300 hours when nobody was watching. He pre-positioned 6 shells within arm's reach of the breech. Tested lifting and loading in one motion. Tested combined load-ram technique. Timed himself with his wristwatch. First attempt, 12 seconds. Second attempt, 10 seconds. Third attempt, 8 seconds. 8 seconds from grabbing a shell to firing it. 1 man working alone, matching half the performance of a 6-man crew. Wade didn't tell anyone, didn't file a report, just kept practicing. By August 23rd, he'd fired 60 practice rounds using his modified sequence. The gun still worked. He was still alive. The method worked. Then came the mission brief at 2200 hours. 17-truck Japanese convoy. All guns engage. Gun 12 status, 1 man. Wade's platoon leader, Lieutenant Morrison, asked if Wade could participate. Wade said yes. Now it was 11:47 p.m. The trucks were in range. Wade's hand was on the first shell. The rest of the battalion was waiting for the fire command, and Wade was about to prove that impossible just meant nobody had tried hard enough yet. Wade's modified loading sequence started 3 days earlier in a way nobody authorized and nobody noticed. August 20th, 2300 hours. Gun position 12. The rest of the battalion was asleep. Wade was alone with a howitzer and a problem that had killed 19 men. Standard procedures said the ammunition point sat 8 feet behind the gun for safety reasons. Blast radius, fragmentation pattern, chain detonation risk if one shell cooked off. 8 feet was regulation. 8 feet was also 8 seconds of walking time per shot, multiplied by the number of rounds fired. In a 2-minute fire mission, a crew spent nearly a full minute just walking shells from point to breech. Wade grabbed 6 shells from the ammunition point, 33 pounds each, carried them 2 at a time to the gun, built a sandbag cradle 3 feet from the breech, stacked the shells nose up, checked stability, checked that breech recoil wouldn't strike them, checked blast clearance when the gun fired. The shells sat stable, 3 feet from the breech instead of 8. That eliminated 5 feet of walking distance, 2 steps instead of 7. Saved 4 seconds per round. 4 seconds didn't sound significant until you multiplied it across 12 rounds. 48 seconds saved. 48 seconds was the difference between getting off 10 shots or 6 shots before mortars arrived. But saving walking time didn't solve the fundamental problem. A 6-man crew took 15 seconds per round because each man performed one task sequentially. Loader carried shell. Rammer rammed it. Gunner aimed. Each action waited for the previous action to complete. Sequential operations guaranteed delays. Wade picked up a shell with his left hand, grabbed the rammer staff with his right hand, held both simultaneously, opened the breech with his right elbow while holding the rammer staff, loaded the shell with his left hand, immediately rammed with his right hand without setting down the staff. One continuous motion, load-ram combined. No pause between steps, no setting down tools, no waiting for the next man in sequence. First attempt took 9 seconds, second attempt took 8 seconds. Third attempt, Wade's hands moved automatically. Grab, load, ram, done. 7 seconds. The elevation and traverse wheels were next. Standard procedure required receiving fire data, calculating angles, rotating wheels to match settings. 12 seconds minimum. But Japanese convoys used the same route every night. The Kokoda Trail was the only passable road through the Owen Stanley Range. Trucks had to follow it. That meant target coordinates were predictable. Wade pulled out a topographic map, marked 5 positions along the trail where it passed through open terrain. Calculated range to each position, calculated elevation and traverse settings. Wrote the numbers in pencil next to each mark. Position 1, range 3,200 yards, elevation 310 mils, traverse 2850 mils. Position 2, range 3,400 yards, elevation 325 mils, traverse 2870 mils. 5 preset positions, 5 sets of numbers. When a convoy appeared, Wade could select the nearest preset and fire immediately. No calculation time. No wheel adjustment time beyond fine-tuning. Saved 8 seconds on the first shot. The technique required strength most men didn't have. 33-pound shells loaded and rammed in one motion demanded arm strength and coordination. Wade had both. Farm work background, 7 months lifting shells, muscle memory from working 4 different gun crews. He tested the complete sequence 20 times that first night. Grab shell with left hand, rammer staff with right. Load and ram combined. Preset elevation and traverse. Fire. Reset for next shot. Average time, 8 seconds from grab to firing. Standard 6-man crew, 15 seconds. Wade alone, 8 seconds. 1 man operating at nearly double the speed of a coordinated crew. It shouldn't work. It violated doctrine. It eliminated safety checks. It required physical capabilities beyond normal artilleryman standards. But it worked. The gun didn't malfunction. Wade didn't get hurt. Shells fired accurately at preset coordinates. 8 seconds per round was possible if you were willing to skip everything doctrine said was mandatory. The method's real name should have been desperation. Wade wasn't trying to innovate. He was trying to survive. Trying to make 1 man effective enough that Gun 12 could participate in fire missions instead of sitting silent. Trying to prove that doctrine written in peacetime didn't apply when Japanese mortars killed crews 90 seconds after they opened fire. Nobody knew Wade was testing this. He practiced late at night when supervisors were asleep. He didn't file modifications with the gunnery sergeant. Didn't request permission from Lieutenant Morrison. Just worked the gun alone and timed himself with his wristwatch. By August 23rd, Wade had fired 60 practice rounds using the modified sequence. The howitzer's barrel showed no unusual wear. The breech mechanism functioned normally. The recoil system handled the firing cycle. The gun could sustain 8-second reload intervals without mechanical failure. The question wasn't whether the method worked mechanically. The question was whether it would work under combat conditions, with Japanese observers watching for muzzle flash and mortar teams waiting to fire. Wade was about to find out. The technique broke down into 4 modifications, each violating established procedure, each saving critical seconds. Modification 1: Ammunition pre-positioning. Standard doctrine placed shells 8 feet behind the gun. Wade's method placed them 3 feet from the breech in a sandbag cradle he built from materials scrounged around the gun position. The cradle held 6 shells, arranged nose up for easy grabbing. Each shell sat in its own sandbag pocket, stable, accessible, immediately ready. Risk: shells closer to the gun meant shells closer to blast zone if the howitzer misfired or took a direct hit. Risk acceptable because closer shells meant faster reload. 4 seconds saved per round. 24 seconds saved across 6 rounds. 24 seconds was enough time to fire 3 additional rounds before mortars arrived. Modification 2: Combined load ram motion. Standard doctrine separated loading from ramming. Loader placed shell in breech. Rammer picked up 6-foot staff. Rammer drove shell into chamber. 2 separate actions, 2 separate tools, 7 seconds total. Wade's method combined both. He held the shell in his left hand and rammer staff in his right hand simultaneously. Opened breech with right elbow. Inserted shell with left hand. Immediately rammed with right hand without pause. 1 fluid motion instead of 2 discrete actions. The technique required uncommon strength. Holding a 33-pound shell in one hand while manipulating a 12-pound rammer staff with the other hand demanded grip strength and arm endurance. Wade's farm background gave him both. Years of loading hay bales and carrying feed sacks built the muscle and coordination this method required. Risk: combined loading increased chance of shell misalignment in the breech. Misaligned shells could cause firing malfunctions or breech explosions. Wade's solution was practice. 60 repetitions built muscle memory. His hands knew the correct angle and depth without visual confirmation. Feel replaced sight. Speed replaced deliberation. Modification 3: Preset fire data. Standard doctrine required gunners to receive fire mission coordinates, calculate elevation and traverse angles, adjust wheels, confirm settings, then fire. 12 seconds minimum for experienced gunners, 15 seconds for average ones. Wade eliminated calculation time by pre-calculating target coordinates. He studied topographic maps of the Kokoda Trail. Kokoda Trail identified 5 positions where convoys were vulnerable, measured ranges, calculated firing solutions, wrote everything down. When a convoy appeared, Wade selected the nearest preset position and set his wheels immediately. The method worked because Japanese convoys were predictable. They used the same route every night because mountains forced them onto the one passable road. Target coordinates didn't change. Only the convoy's position along the known route changed. Wade's 5 presets covered the entire engagement zone. Select nearest preset, fine-tune if needed, fire. 3 seconds instead of 12. Risk: preset coordinates sacrificed precision for speed. A crew calculating fresh firing data for each target achieved tighter accuracy. Wade's method accepted reduced precision in exchange for higher fire rate. More rounds on target faster mattered more than perfect accuracy on fewer rounds. Modification 4: Single motion breech operation. Standard procedure broke breech operation into 3 steps. Open breech, 2 seconds. Load shell, 3 seconds. Close breech, 2 seconds. 7 seconds total. Wade trained muscle memory to flow through the sequence without pause. Right hand opened the breech while left hand positioned the shell. Shell went in the instant breech opened. Breech closed the instant shell seated. No gaps between actions, no separate steps. one continuous motion consuming 5 seconds instead of 7. Risk. Rushing breach operation increased chance of catching fingers or crushing hands. The breech block weighed 40 pounds and closed with significant force. Rushing the operation meant less time to clear hands from pinch points. Wade's solution was repetition until the motion became automatic. 60 practice rounds taught his hands where to be and when to move. Combined effect of 4 modifications, standard crew 15 seconds per round, became Wade alone 8 seconds per round. Nearly double the fire rate. Physics said impossible. Wade's stopwatch said otherwise. The mission brief came at 2200 hours on August 23rd. Battalion command tent, all battery commanders present. Lieutenant Morrison representing gun position 12. Intelligence officer laid out the situation. Japanese convoy observed staging at Kokoda village. 17 trucks, estimated cargo, ammunition, medical supplies, 200+ reinforcements. Route, Kokoda Trail south toward Buna. Speed, approximately 15 miles per hour. Engagement window, 6 to 8 minutes while trucks traversed exposed section of trail. Battalion commander's order, all available artillery engage. Maximum fire rate. Objective, destroy the convoy. Status check across the battalion. Gun 1, 4-man crew. Gun 3, 3-man crew. Gun 7, 4-man crew. Gun 9, silent, no crew available. Gun 11, 5-man crew. Gun 12, 1-man crew. Battalion commander looked at Morrison. Can Gun 12 participate with 1 man? Morrison hesitated. Wade says he can operate solo. I haven't seen him do it. But we need every gun. If he can't maintain fire rate, he pulls back before counter battery hits him. Clear? Clear, sir. Expected Japanese response time? 90 seconds from first shot, sir. Standard pattern. The math was simple. 90 seconds. Guns with 4-man crews could fire maybe 6 rounds. Guns with 3-man crews could fire 4 rounds. Wade alone could fire either 1 round if the doctrine was right, or 11 rounds if his method worked. Nobody believed 11 rounds. Morrison didn't believe it. The gunnery sergeant didn't believe it. Battalion commander didn't believe it. But they needed every gun, and Wade was all Gun 12 had. Wade left the command tent at 22:30 hours, walked back to gun position 12. The gun sat silent in the darkness. No crew, no support. Just Wade and a howitzer and 12 shells stacked in sandbag cradle 3 feet from the breech. He performed final checks. Recoil mechanism, functional. Breech seal, intact. Elevation wheel, smooth rotation. Traverse wheel, smooth rotation. Rammer staff positioned within reach. Shells, 6 in cradle, 6 more at ammunition point for reload after initial barrage. Fire data sheet came out of his pocket. 5 preset positions marked. Position 1 covered 3,200 yards. Position 5 covered 3,600 yards. The exposed section of Kokoda Trail fell within that range. Trucks would appear at position 1, travel through positions 2, 3, 4, exit through position 5. Total transit time, approximately 8 minutes. Wade set his wheels to position 1, elevation 310 mils, traverse 2, 850 mils, confirmed settings. Locked wheels. Ready to fire. Time check, 23:30 hours. Convoy expected in 15 to 20 minutes. Wade sat down next to the gun. His hands were steady. No visible nervousness. No pacing. Just waiting. The jungle smelled like rot and rain. Distant generator noise from battalion motor pool. Insect sounds. Normal night in New Guinea. Except tonight, Wade was going to prove one man could outperform 3 full crews, or he was going to prove doctrine existed for good reasons, and individual innovation didn't matter against physics. At 23:45 hours, the radio crackled. All guns, convoy sighted. Position 1. 17 vehicles. Stand by for fire command. Wade stood up, put his hand on the first shell. 33 pounds of high explosive. The first of 12 rounds that would either validate his method or prove he'd wasted 3 days on impossible mathematics. All guns, commence firing on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark. Wade grabbed the shell. Wade's left hand grabbed the first shell at 11:47 p.m. and 32 seconds. His right hand held the rammer staff. The breech opened with his right elbow. Shell loaded, rammed, breech closed. Wade pulled the lanyard. The howitzer fired. Orange muzzle flash lit gun position 12. Recoil drove the gun backward 3 feet. The shell arced through darkness toward the Kokoda Trail 3,200 yards away. Flight time, 12 seconds. Wade was already loading the second shell before the first one landed. 4 howitzers fired simultaneously across the battalion line. Gun 1, Gun 3, Gun 7, Gun 12. The sound rolled across the Owen Stanley Range like close thunder. Japanese truck drivers in the valley heard it. Heard shells incoming, heard what was about to happen. Observer report crackled over the radio. Rounds falling short. All guns add 100 yards. Wade twisted the elevation wheel. 2 clicks up. Grabbed the third shell. His modified sequence ran automatically now. Grab, load, ram, fire. 7 seconds. The gun bucked. Shell 3 away. Time check 11:47 and 47 seconds. 15 seconds elapsed. Standard crews would be loading their second round. Wade had fired 3. Observer report. Impact. Lead truck hit. Vehicle burning. Wade didn't acknowledge. His hands moved to shell 4. The sequence continued. Load, ram, fire. The mechanical rhythm felt right. Felt fast. Felt like 19 dead men were about to be worth something. Gun 1 reported over the radio. Round out, reloading. Their first shot. 20-second reload interval. 4-man crew working standard doctrine. Gun 7. Impact observed. No damage visible. Their second shot. Gun 3. Misfire. Clearing breach. 3-man crew struggling. Wade fired shot 5. Traverse wheel adjustment. 2 clicks left. Shot 6. Direct hit on the second truck. Explosion visible from gun position 12. Secondary detonation. Probably ammunition cargo. Time elapsed. 1 minute 8 seconds. Wade had fired 6 rounds. The rest of the battalion combined had fired 7 rounds total. Lieutenant Morrison's voice on the radio. 12. What's your count? Wade was loading shot 7. Didn't answer. Fired. Adjusted traverse. Loaded shot 8. Morrison again. Wade, confirm your fire rate. Shell 8 fired. Wade grabbed shell 9. 9 rounds, sir. His voice flat, matter of fact. Silence on the radio for 2 seconds. Then the battalion commander. Say again, 12. 9 rounds in 74 seconds, sir. Wade rammed shell 10 into the breach. More silence. Observer report cutting through. Multiple impacts in convoy. Count 4 trucks burning. 5th truck disabled, blocking trail. Remaining vehicles bunching. Wade fired shot 10. The Japanese trucks were trapped now. Lead vehicles destroyed, trail blocked. Trucks behind them had nowhere to go. Perfect target concentration. Shell 11 went into the breach. Wade's hands were black with propellant residue. His shoulders burned from the repetitive lifting and ramming. Sweat ran down his face despite the night air. But the rhythm held. Grab, load, ram, fire. Shot 11 away, impact 2 seconds later per observer. 6th truck destroyed. Convoy combat ineffective. Gun 1 fired their 3rd round. Gun 7 fired their 4th. Gun 3 still clearing their misfire. Wade was about to fire his 12th. Then the counter battery warning. All guns, Japanese mortars incoming. Estimate 20 seconds. Standard procedure was immediate. Cease fire. Abandon gun. Take cover. Japanese mortars had 90-second response time from first shot. The battalion had been firing for 88 seconds. Mortars were in the air. Impact in 20 seconds. Gun 1 ceased fire. Their crew chief called out, "Going to cover." Gun 7 ceased fire. "Pulling back." Gun 3 finally cleared their misfire. Decided not to fire. "Taking cover." Wade had 1 shell left in his sandbag cradle. Shell 12. The last round before he'd need to run back to the ammunition point for resupply. 20 seconds before mortars landed. 8 seconds to load and fire. 12-second flight time for the shell to reach target. The math was tight, but possible. Fire now. The shell would hit before mortars arrived. Fire now, Wade might not reach cover before mortars hit gun position 12. Morrison's voice over the radio. 12, pull back, that's an order. Wade's left hand was already holding shell 12. His right hand held the rammer staff. The breach was open. Japanese trucks sat bunched in the valley below, perfect targets, ammunition and reinforcements that wouldn't reach Buna if this shell hit. Morrison, louder. "Wade, mortars in 15 seconds. Get to cover now." Wade loaded the shell, rammed it home, closed the breach. His hands moved to the lanyard. 12 trucks still intact in the convoy. 12 trucks that would keep moving if Wade ran for cover instead of firing. 10 seconds until mortars hit gun position 12. Wade pulled the lanyard. The howitzer fired. Shell 12 arced into darkness. Wade dropped behind the gun shield, grabbed his helmet, pressed himself against sandbags. 6 seconds until Japanese mortars arrived. Wade's shell was in flight. 12-second trajectory. The shell would impact 6 seconds after mortars hit Wade's position. If Wade survived the mortars, he'd know if shot 12 found target. If he didn't survive, nobody would know if the last round mattered. 4 seconds. The sound started. Whistling, high-pitched, getting louder. Incoming mortars falling toward gun position 12. Wade pulled his helmet lower. 3 seconds. Morrison on the radio. 12, status? 2 seconds. Wade couldn't answer. The mortars were already there. Impact. 3 Japanese mortars hit within 20 feet of gun position 12. The first landed 8 feet left of the howitzer. Shrapnel tore through sandbags. The second landed 12 feet right. Concussion wave hit like a physical force. The third landed directly behind Wade's ammunition point. Destroyed the remaining 6 shells Wade had staged for reload. The noise was overwhelming. Not just sound, but pressure. Air compressing, expanding, slamming against Wade's body. Dirt and debris everywhere. Smoke. The smell of high explosive. Wade stayed down, hands over his helmet, breathing through his mouth because his nose was full of dirt. His ears rang. Couldn't hear the radio. Couldn't hear anything except the ringing. 5 seconds of violence. Then relative quiet. Just the ringing and distant secondary explosions from the valley below. Wade lifted his head, checked himself. Arms moved, legs moved. No blood visible. Shrapnel had passed overhead. Gun's shield had protected him. He was alive. The howitzer sat 3 feet away. Shrapnel had gouged the barrel. 6-inch scar in the metal. Breech mechanism looked intact. Recoil system damaged. Hydraulic fluid leaking. Gun was probably still functional, but compromised. Wade's ammunition cradle was destroyed. Sandbags shredded. The shells he'd pre-positioned were gone, detonated by mortar impact or buried under debris. No ammunition remaining at gun position 12. His radio still worked. Morrison's voice, frantic. 12, respond. Wade, status report. Wade keyed the transmit. Gun damaged. Out of ammunition. I'm alive. Silence. Then Morrison's voice, carefully controlled. Did you fire all 12 rounds? Affirmative. Before or after I ordered you to take cover? Wade looked at the damaged howitzer, at the shrapnel-torn sandbags, at the crater where his ammunition point used to be. After, sir. Morrison didn't respond immediately. Wade heard him breathing over the radio. Finally, we'll discuss that later. Hold position. Counter batteries should be finished. The observer's voice cut in, excited, higher pitched than normal radio discipline allowed. Multiple impacts in convoy. Count 7, 8, 9 trucks burning. Additional vehicles disabled by secondary explosions. Remaining trucks abandoned. Crews fleeing on foot. Convoy destroyed. Repeat, convoy destroyed. Gun 1's crew chief. 12 destroyed the convoy? Observer. Affirmative. 12 achieved majority of direct hits. 9 confirmed impacts. Remaining trucks disabled by blast effect and secondary ammunition detonations. Silence on the battalion radio net. Nobody spoke for 3 seconds. Then the battalion commander. 12, confirm round count. How many did you fire? Wade checked his ammunition status. 6 shells from the sandbag cradle. 6 more from the ammunition point before mortars destroyed it. 12 rounds, sir. 88 seconds. More silence. Gun 1's crew chief. That's impossible. We fired 4 rounds in 88 seconds with a 4-man crew. Wade didn't argue. The observer had confirmed impacts. 9 direct hits. The convoy was destroyed. The numbers spoke for themselves, battalion commander. Wade, how? Modified loading sequence, sir. Pre-positioned ammunition. Combined load ram motion. Preset fire data. You modified standard procedure? Yes, sir. Without authorization? Yes, sir. Did this modification work? Wade looked at the destroyed convoy in the valley below, looked at his damaged gun, looked at the shrapnel scars on sandbags that should have killed him. 9 direct hits in 88 seconds, sir. It worked. Long pause. Then Morrison. All guns, cease fire. Mission complete. Convoy neutralized. Return to normal posture. The engagement was over. 17 Japanese trucks, 12 American artillery rounds, 88 seconds, 9 hits. Convoy destroyed. 197 tons of ammunition and medical supplies that wouldn't reach Buna. 200 Japanese reinforcements who'd have to walk instead of ride. And 1 corporal who'd just proven that standard doctrine wasn't the only doctrine. Wade stood up slowly. His legs shook. Adrenaline wearing off. He walked around gun position 12, checking damage. The howitzer could probably fire again with repairs. The barrel gouge was ugly, but not catastrophic. Recoil system needed hydraulic fluid. Breech mechanism needed inspection. But the sandbag cradle was gone. The pre-positioned ammunition concept worked. But only until mortars destroyed your staging area. The method had one major vulnerability. Everything concentrated at the gun position. One direct hit eliminated the ammunition supply. Wade filed that observation mentally. If he taught this method to other crews, they'd need to account for counter-battery fire destroying pre-positioned shells. Maybe stage ammunition in multiple locations. Maybe use more substantial protective berms. Morrison appeared 30 minutes later, walked up to gun position 12, looked at the damage, looked at Wade, didn't speak immediately. Finally, you disobeyed a direct order. Yes, sir. You continued firing after I told you to take cover. Yes, sir. Why? Wade looked at the valley, at the burning trucks, at the smoke rising into the night sky. 12 rounds mattered more than 1 man, sir. Morrison stared at him. You could have died? 90 seconds, sir. I had the math. The math almost killed you. But it didn't, sir. And the convoy is destroyed. Morrison pulled out a notepad, clicked his pen. Explain your method, every step. I want complete documentation. Battalion commander wants to know if this works. For full crews or just for insane corporals who ignore orders? Wade began explaining. Pre-positioning, combined loading, preset data, single motion breach operation. Morrison wrote everything down, asked questions, timed Wade's demonstration with a stopwatch. When Wade finished, Morrison looked at his notes. 8 seconds per round, 1 man. That's faster than any crew in this battalion. Yes, sir. Can a full crew use this method? Should work better, sir. More men means faster shell handling, shared workload. Same techniques, multiplied effectiveness. Morrison closed his notepad. Battalion commander wants you in his tent at 0800. Bring documentation. Bring your stopwatch. Prepare to demonstrate everything. He turned to leave, stopped, turned back. Wade, you saved lives tonight. That convoy would have reinforced Buna. We'd have lost men fighting those reinforcements. Your disobedience saved American lives. Pause. I'm still putting you up for disciplinary action for ignoring orders. But I'm also recommending you for commendation. Command can sort out which matters more. Wade said nothing. Morrison left. Wade sat down next to his damaged howitzer and waited for dawn. At 0800 hours on August 24th, Wade walked into the battalion command tent still covered in dirt from the previous night's mortar strike. Battalion commander sat at the field desk. Lieutenant Morrison stood to the right. 3 battery commanders lined the left wall. Gunnery Sergeant Hayes stood at attention near the entrance. The commander didn't waste time. Demonstrate your method, every step. Wade pulled an empty shell casing from his pack, set it on the desk, pulled out his rammer staff section, walked through the sequence. Left hand grabs shell, right hand holds rammer. Combined motion, load and ram simultaneously. No pause, one continuous flow. He explained pre-positioning, showed his hand-drawn fire data sheet. 5 preset positions along Kokoda Trail. Range, elevation, traverse, written in pencil. Select nearest preset, fire immediately. No calculation delay. Gunnery Sergeant Hayes interrupted. That violates 6 safety protocols. Wade looked at him. Yes, Sergeant. Could damage the gun mechanism. Possible, Sergeant. Could cause catastrophic breach failure and kill the crew. Also possible, Sergeant. Hayes crossed his arms. But it worked. Wade said nothing. The observer reports from last night spoke clearly enough. 9 direct hits. Convoy destroyed. Battery Commander Collins stepped forward. Can a full crew use these techniques? Wade nodded. Should work better, sir. Loader pre-positioned shells. Rammer uses combined motion. Gunner operates from preset data. Each man applies the principles to their position. Combined effect multiplies. What about safety? Reduced, sir. Speed and safety trade-off. Standard procedure optimizes safety. This method optimizes speed. Wade paused. Japanese mortars kill crews 90 seconds after first shot. Faster firing means fewer shots taken before taking cover. Speed becomes survival. The battalion commander leaned back in his chair, studied Wade. You're telling me standard doctrine gets men killed? No, sir. I'm saying standard doctrine was designed for peacetime ranges where the enemy doesn't shoot back. Combat requires different calculations. Silence in the tent for 5 seconds. The commander made his decision. You'll train 3 crews. Gun 1, Gun 7, Gun 11. 72 hours. Full documentation. I want timed trials. I want malfunction rates. I want proof this works with normal crews, not just with corporals who survived 4 mortar strikes. Hayes objected. Sir, Field Artillery School. Field Artillery School isn't losing 17 crews to Japanese counter-battery fire. We are. We adapt, or we keep dying. The commander looked at Wade. 72 hours. Make it work. Wade trained Gun 1 first. 4-man crew. Sergeant Martinez, Corporal Hayes, Private Chen, Private Rodriguez. They'd been together 5 months. They knew standard procedure perfectly. That made them resistant to change. Wade didn't argue. He demonstrated. Timed himself with his stopwatch. Standard procedure simulation using their crew. 15 seconds per round. Wade's method alone, 8 seconds. He let the numbers speak. Martinez asked the obvious question. How do we adapt this for 4 men? Wade walked them through it. Loader pre-positions 12 shells in reinforced cradle. Builds it from sandbags during position setup. Places shells within 3 feet of breach. Eliminates walking time. Rammer holds staff while loader places shell. Combined timing. Load and ram become one motion instead of 2 sequential steps. Requires coordination, but cuts 4 seconds. Gunner receives preset fire data before mission. Sets elevation and traverse to first target position before convoy appears. Fires immediately when target enters range. Adjusts for subsequent targets using minor wheel corrections, not full recalculation. Assistant gunner maintains safety checks but accelerates the sequence. Verifies firing pin while rammer is still seating the shell. Calls ready before breach fully closes. Overlaps actions instead of waiting for completion. Martinez looked skeptical. You're asking us to overlap safety checks? Wade nodded. Yes, Sergeant. Speed requires risk acceptance. Men could die. Men are dying now, Sergeant. 19 in 6 weeks. Japanese mortars don't wait for proper safety protocol. Martinez considered this, looked at his crew. They'd lost 2 men in July to counter-battery fire. Standard procedure hadn't saved those men. We'll try it, Martinez said. Training took 6 hours. Wade walked them through each position, corrected timing, adjusted technique to each man's physical capabilities. Chen was shorter, needed different shell grab mechanics. Rodriguez had weak left arm from old injury, compensated with right hand. Strength. By 1400 hours, Gun 1 crew fired their first time trial. Result? 11 seconds per round. Not 8, but better than 15. Second trial, 10 seconds. Third trial, 9 seconds. By 1800 hours, they'd fired 30 practice rounds at 9-second average intervals. Martinez was convinced. It works, feels wrong, but the stopwatch doesn't lie. Gun 7 trained next. 4-man crew. Different physical builds, different strengths. Wade adapted the method. Heavier loader could handle 2 shells at once for faster pre-positioning. Smaller rammer used momentum instead of pure strength for ramming motion. Results? 10-second average after 8 hours training. Gun 11 had 5 men. Full crew. Wade expected best results. Got them. 8-second average after 6 hours training. The extra man allowed more task overlap. Ammunition handler prepared next shell, while loader positioned current shell. Continuous flow, no gaps. On August 27th, battalion commander ordered field test. Target, Japanese ammunition depot at 4,200 yards. Guns participating, 1, 7, 11, 12. Wade's gun had been repaired. Barrel gouge was ugly but functional. Recoil system refilled. Fire mission duration, 2 minutes 40 seconds. Japanese counter-battery response expected at 90 seconds. Results by gun: Gun 1, 18 rounds fired. 9-second reload average. Ceased fire at 88 seconds. Took cover. Mortars landed at 93 seconds. Crew unharmed. Guns 7, 16 rounds fired, 10-second reload average. Ceased fire at 86 seconds. Crew unharmed. Gun 11, 20 rounds fired, 8-second reload average. Ceased fire at 84 seconds. Crew unharmed. Gun 12, Wade alone, 19 rounds fired, 8.4-second reload average. Ceased fire at 87 seconds. Wade unharmed. Combined 73 rounds on target before counter-battery forced ceasefire. Standard doctrine. Same 4 guns would have fired approximately 42 rounds. 31 additional rounds. 73% increase in fire effectiveness. The ammunition depot was destroyed. Japanese after-action reports captured later indicated complete loss. Estimated 500 tons of artillery shells and small arms ammunition eliminated. 0 American casualties. Battalion commander issued his order on August 28th. Wade's method becomes standard for 129th Field Artillery Battalion. Mandatory training for all crews, documentation compiled into battalion standing orders. Gunnery sergeant to oversee implementation. Hayes objected one final time. "Sir, this isn't approved doctrine." Commander's response. "Then we're writing new doctrine, effective immediately." Results over next 6 weeks, September through mid-October 1944. Battalion fire rate increased 38% average across all guns. Counter-battery casualties dropped from 43 men in 6 weeks, July through August, to 11 men in 6 weeks, September through October. Enemy supply convoy interdiction success rate increased 62%. The Japanese noticed. Captured intelligence reports from October showed Japanese logistical officers complaining about increased American artillery effectiveness. Convoy routes shifted to avoid 129th Battalion fire zones. Night movement patterns changed. Trucks traveled individually instead of convoy formation to reduce target density. Japanese after-action reports mentioned unusually rapid American artillery fire and sustained bombardment exceeding normal patterns. One report from early October stated, "American batteries near Kokoda demonstrate fire rates inconsistent with known crew strength and doctrine. Recommend investigation." The investigation never happened. By November, the technique had spread beyond 129th Battalion. 32nd Infantry Division Artillery Commander visited on November 2nd. Observed demonstrations, interviewed crews, reviewed fire mission logs comparing July through August casualty rates against September through October rates. His conclusion: recommend immediate adoption across division artillery. 4 battalions, 48 howitzers. Wade received new orders November 15th. Reassignment to Division Artillery School. Mission: train all division artillery crews in modified loading procedures. Duration: 3 weeks intensive instruction. Trainees: 280 artillerymen. Wade wasn't a natural instructor, struggled with explanations, better at demonstrating than describing. But he had the stopwatch and the numbers, showed crews their standard times, showed them his method, let them compare results. 90% of crews achieved 30% or better fire rate improvement. Resistance came from experienced gunners, men who'd operated howitzers for years, men who believed doctrine existed for good reasons. Wade didn't argue with them, just demonstrated. Fired 20 rounds in 2 minutes 40 seconds alone. Let them watch. Asked if they could match it using standard procedure with full crew. They couldn't. Eventually, they tried his method. Eventually, the stopwatch convinced them. By December 1944, 16 battalions across New Guinea theater were using Wade's techniques. Word spread through informal channels. Crew chiefs talked to crew chiefs. Battery commanders compared fire mission results. Units with better statistics got asked how they achieved them. January 1945, 6th Army Artillery Command formally requested Wade compile training manual. Problem: Wade wasn't skilled at writing. Knew how to do the technique but struggled articulating it on paper. Solution: artillery school instructor named Captain William Ross transcribed Wade's demonstrations into written doctrine. Took 3 weeks. Result: 23-page manual titled Accelerated Loading Procedures for 105mm Howitzer M2A1. Published February 1945. Distributed to all 6th Army artillery units. Not mandatory, not official doctrine. Listed as alternate loading procedure authorized for crew commander's discretion during high-tempo operations. Safety warnings included: increased gun wear, increased misfire risk, recommended for combat situations where speed outweighs safety margins. Statistics from January through June 1945 showed effectiveness across Pacific Theater. 23 battalions used Wade method. Approximately 180 guns total. Average fire rate improvement, 32%. Counter-battery casualty reduction, 41% compared to July through December 1944. Gun damage incidents increased 7%. Command analysis determined acceptable trade-off. Wade received promotion to sergeant in April 1945. Received Bronze Star in May. Citation read, "For innovative techniques improving artillery effectiveness and reducing casualties in combat operations." Citation didn't mention specific techniques, didn't mention August 23rd engagement, didn't mention 9 direct hits in 88 seconds. Just innovative techniques. Wade never returned to combat operations. Remained artillery instructor through war's end. Trained estimated 800+ crewmen. Never fired another shot in anger. Just taught other men how to fire faster. War ended August 1945. Wade discharged November 19th, 45. Returned to Arkansas. Bought small farm with discharge pay. Married Elizabeth Hoffman in 1947. 4 children over next 8 years. He worked the farm 41 years. Raised cattle, grew soybeans, normal life, quiet life. When people asked about military service, Wade said he worked artillery crews in New Guinea. Nothing more specific. His children didn't know about the modified loading sequence until 1998, when military historian researching Pacific artillery tactics found Wade's name in 129th Battalion records. Historian contacted Wade, interviewed him for 3 hours. Wade described the technique, confirmed the August 23rd engagement, confirmed training 800 crewmen, then said he didn't think it was particularly important, just something that needed doing at the time. Historian disagreed. Estimated Wade's method saved between 150 and 200 American lives through reduced counter-battery casualties. Estimated additional Japanese logistics disruption prevented hundreds more casualties indirectly. Wade's response: "I just made the gun work faster. Other men did the real fighting." The technique outlived its creator. Korean War artillery crews used variations. Vietnam era saw automated loading systems replace manual methods, but the principle survived. Speed through procedure optimization. Safety balanced against effectiveness. Modern artillery training still teaches Wade's core concept. Pre-position when possible. Overlap actions. Eliminate wasted motion. The specific techniques changed with technology, but the philosophy remained. Thomas Wade died July 12, 2003. 81 years old. Heart failure. Funeral in Fayetteville, Arkansas. 47 people attended, family mostly. 3 Army veterans who'd served with Wade in New Guinea. Obituary mentioned World War II service. 1 paragraph. Didn't mention modified loading sequence. Didn't mention training 800 men. Didn't mention convoy destroyed or lives saved. Just served with distinction in Pacific Theater as artillery sergeant. His children found the Bronze Star citation in his effects, found the historian's interview notes, found fire mission logs Wade had kept from August 1944. That's when they learned what their father had actually done. Gun 12 served through war's end. Shrapnel gouge from August 23rd, still visible in barrel. Decommissioned, 1946. Current location unknown. Probably scrapped for metal. But the method survived. 23-page manual still exists in Army artillery archives. Accelerated loading procedures for 105mm howitzer M2A1. Compiled from field techniques developed by Sergeant T. Wade, 129th Field Artillery Battalion, New Guinea, 1944. One corporal, one howitzer. 88 seconds that rewrote artillery doctrine. Not because he wanted to innovate, because 19 men died and Wade refused to be number 20. If this story shows why we preserve these histories, hit the like button. Subscribe for more forgotten innovations from World War II. Comment your location. We have viewers from Alaska to New Zealand. Every story matters. Every innovation had a name. Thomas Wade made one man equal 6, made speed equal survival, made impossible just mean nobody tried correctly yet. Thank you for keeping these stories alive.